Thank you for watching this video demonstration of the ScaleIO vSphere plugin. This video demo assumes some knowledge of ScaleIO in a VMware environment. So before you get started, you may want to look at additional video content on the Dell EMC ScaleIO YouTube channel, and particularly the automated deployment video shown here. That video explains how the VMware hypervisor works seamlessly with ScaleIO and also shows how this demonstration infrastructure was built. What does the plugin do for us? It allows administrators to manage ScaleIO storage from the vSphere web client, which VMware customers are already using. VMware ESX is by far the most popular hypervisor in use today. This drives the need for the plugin, which makes storage much easier to manage and consume in the virtualized data center. The ScaleIO plugin automates key tasks such as installing ScaleIO software on the ESX infrastructure, creating ScaleIO clusters on automatically provisioned VMware VMs, adding storage provider nodes and VMs to clusters, provisioning and deprovisioning ScaleIO volumes and VMware data stores. In summary, it enables administrators to manage nearly all aspects of storage within the VMware environment. In the remainder of this video, we'll walk through a description of the plugin, then we'll take a look at the demo environment and automated workflow. From there, we'll deploy a storage cluster, and then we'll add a storage node to it. We'll take a look at advanced settings, and lastly, we'll have a few closing statements. The plugin is easily installed from a Windows client using a PowerShell script. It integrates seamlessly with the vSphere web client and provides a single pane of glass for managing the storage system as well as the rest of the virtualized environment. We'll start with 3 ESX nodes interconnected by a 10 gigabit IP storage network. The plugin first creates a partition on the SATA DOM disk on each node, placing a data store in it. It goes on to use those data stores to contain storage virtual machines on each node. Those SVMs are cloned from a pre-configured VM template which contains the ScaleIO software. Next, the plugin will install and configure the primary metadata manager for the first storage virtual machine on the first node. Then it will continue by installing the standby MDM on the second node and the MDM tiebreaker on the third node. Once the MDM cluster is built, the lightweight agent Gateway VM is installed on the first node. And lastly, the storage provider ScaleIO Data Server software is installed and configured, and then selected disks are allocated to a storage pool. Let's go ahead and create our storage cluster. The first thing we'll do here to do a little pre-validation of the environment is install the ScaleIO Data Client, or SDC, on a select number of ESX hosts. So to do that, we're going to kick off the plugin, and we're going to select the Install SDC on ESX task. We see our vCenter IP here. There's our data center and the lab that we're installing into. We'll go ahead and install on all 4 of these hosts by checking here and entering the root password for ESX. Process is fully automated, and we see it's already completed. So next we'll move on to deploying our ScaleIO cluster. After rebooting those hosts, we can go ahead and create our ScaleIO cluster. First, we tell the installer we wish to create a new ScaleIO system. We accept the license agreement, provide a name for the system, provide a password for the admin user for that system, and now we identify the host that we want to install in our cluster. We're going to start by creating a 3-node cluster. We'll add a 4th node later. Next, we identify the roles of each node that we selected. This is a little bit easier because we're creating a 3-node cluster. Here we're selecting defaults, just entering the DNS server. So we create our protection domain and our storage pool name. We don't have enough nodes to set apart fault sets, so we're going to skip that step for now. Now we're going to identify the nodes that we're installing. So this identifies which nodes will provide storage. So based on those nodes we just selected, we will now select the individual disk devices
that will be assigned to the storage pool. So we've selected 5 solid-state devices per node. We've already installed the ScaleIO Data Client, or SDC, which consumes storage. Now we'll select the ESX host, which will be used as a ScaleIO gateway for the lightweight install agent. We'll select the ScaleIO virtual machine template and provide a password which will be used when the storage virtual machines are provisioned. Now we assign our networks and then our IP addresses to establish our ScaleIO cluster. So let's quickly review the IPs. We have the management IP for each storage virtual machine, its subnet mask, the gateway so that we can have access to the management network, and then the data IPs for the primary and secondary interfaces. Here we have the virtual IP addresses on both VLANs. We'll proceed to the summary and then kick off the deployment process. And before we can do that, we have to revalidate with vCenter. So now we're going to complete the installation. We have to revalidate with vCenter. And now the deployment process is started. Notice on the bottom of the screen, the storage virtual machine for the first node is actually being cloned now. We'll fast forward through some of these sections and click Finish. The cluster build is complete. At this point, we should take a look at the ScaleIO storage cluster we just created. First, we see the 4 nodes in our demo lab and the 3 storage VMs that the deployment wizard created for us. Recall that we created a 3-node cluster, so 3 of the nodes are being used to provide storage. As we glance through the SVMs, observe the notes section in the summary panel and see that the node's role and caching status are reflected here. The data client, or SDC, is not reflected here because it actually gets installed on the ESX host itself. That way, any number of application virtual machines will be able to access ScaleIO volumes as they are provisioned. Note there is a 4th VM, which again is the lightweight install agent's gateway. This VM is used by the plugin to manage the installation. Now let's look at the storage provisioned by the installer for us. We see on the first node that a data store of 22 gigabytes was created for us, and that's where the SVM resides. Now let's return to the plugin and take a closer look at storage. If we click here on ScaleIO Systems, we'll find our cluster. We'll see that it has 3 storage provider nodes and 15 disk devices. We can drill further to see details related to the protection domain and ultimately the storage pool that was created. We've drilled to the protection domain and we see we have 1 storage pool, 3 SDCs, and 15 storage devices. So if we click on volumes, while we did not create any volumes in our cluster as of yet, there are some volumes in the environment that are available for review. You can also use the plugin to provision ScaleIO volumes. There's a separate provisioning video available on YouTube, and we'll refer to that at the end of the presentation. Also, instead of drilling down through the ScaleIO systems, you can access various storage components from the ScaleIO menu here. The protection domains, storage pools, ScaleIO data servers, and so on. So here's the first node in our 3-node cluster, the protection domain, the disk devices associated with that node. We didn't create any RF cache devices or vault sets, so we won't find anything there. So we can see that once the cluster is built, we can go back and manage it directly through the vSphere client. So next, we should take a look at adding a node. In the life cycle of storage, there's always that event where we need to add performance or capacity. To achieve that in a ScaleIO environment, we simply add storage provider nodes. And that's what we'll do next. It's important to point out at this stage what makes ScaleIO and software-defined storage so unique. ScaleIO is IP-based block storage. The primary building block of ScaleIO is the industry standard x86 server, contrasting with the classical storage array approach, which requires specialized hardware. As capacity and performance demands increase, servers are added to your storage cluster as needed. Traditional storage arrays only scale to a handful of controllers, while ScaleIO scales beyond 1,000 nodes. In a virtualized data center, a single ScaleIO SAN can support countless VMware clusters, and as nodes are added or removed, data is automatically rebalanced across the ScaleIO cluster, mitigating those large data migrations that disrupt our business operations. Let's see what's involved in adding one additional storage node to our cluster. We've discovered that we need a little bit more storage performance or capacity, so we're going to go ahead and add a storage node to our cluster. To do that, we're going to go back into the deployment wizard, and we're going to add a server to a pre-registered ScaleIO system. If you remember, we called it Finance. So now we're going to select the node that we're going to add to the system. It will carry on no additional metadata management tasks or roles, so we can skip this. We will have to provide DNS information. We don't need to create any new protection domains or storage pools, so we'll skip that. Again, we're not adding any fault sets. We don't have any, and we don't have enough nodes to add them. We're going to add this new node as a ScaleIO data server, or SDS. So we'll drill down to that node and select the disk devices that we wish to use. There's 5 of them. We're not going to be installing the data client. It's already been installed on this node. Provide the password for the lightweight install agent. Again, the gateway is already installed, so we're simply providing access to that gateway from this storage VM. A little bit different this time. Since the lightweight install agent gateway is already installed, we need to validate the password. The green check mark means the password is good. Again, we're going to select the ScaleIO storage virtual machine template, and then the password that we want for the SVM, the networking details, and then the IP addresses. We entered the IPs just as we did before. We have the management IP, gateway IP address, and the data IPs for the data networks. In the end, it summarizes all of the characteristics of the SDS. So we click Finish, reconfirm, and again, the install agent takes over and begins the deployment process for us. The deployment is completed. Let's go ahead and take a look at the environment then. So now we see a 4th node. And we see that it has the ScaleIO data server installed on it, as well as the lightweight install agent and the RF cache software. So that concludes our deployment of this last and 4th node. It's a good time to explore the advanced settings at this point. These are used to establish the behavior of the deployment and other automated processes. So the first, enable VMDK creation, is a way to automatically deploy basic VMDKs during node deployment. Notice we did not select that when we ran the wizard. Enable RDMs on non-parallel SCSI controllers. So this option allows us to provide better performance, better configuration practices related to flash devices, flash disk drives. Allow takeover of devices with existing signature. So if we have a node that was previously deployed on ScaleIO and maybe we took that node out of the system and we wish to reuse it in another context, we can do that. And if we mark this checkbox, ScaleIO during the deployment process will allow you to go ahead and capture all disk devices that were previously used and reuse them. Allow using non-local data stores for SVMs. This is a performance-related issue where you may wish the deployment wizard to insist, if you will, that all of the SVMs are local to the ESX hosts that they're running on. The parallelism limit determines how many concurrent processes the deployment wizard will allow to operate at any given time. So in larger environments, especially production environments, it might be wise to lower this limit. The two bullets shown here are poetic. The most important takeaway related to this demonstration is this: simplicity. It just isn't that difficult. We've seen that the ScaleIO VMware plugin simplifies management of storage, providing a single pane of glass for administrators to manage their ESX environments, giving them more time and energy to focus on driving business value while delivering results faster. And now a quick slide on resources available to you. The primary source of publicly available product information and software can be found on the ScaleIO landing page. The URL is shown here. Refer to our ScaleIO YouTube channel and review the automated deployment video. Also, take a look at the provisioning video. It will give you more insight on managing volumes and data stores. And lastly, for more detailed information, see the ScaleIO VMware document, which goes into more detail on installing the plugin itself. Thank you for watching this video and have a great day.